Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you. On this video I will be talking about Ozark Season 4 Episode 12. The episode is called Trouble the Water. Full spoilers from the start of this review as always, and man, this show is kicking back into high gear. A really dramatic, gripping episode, especially the ending of the episode, which I'll talk about last, but a tremendous end to the episode, and it just feels like we're really getting into high stakes once again as we ramp up for the finale. So some of the rough edges which like a couple episodes have had seems that we're over that and we're back to the old Ozark again, so that's really good stuff. So just starting at the start of the episode, I actually love the opening where Jonah and Charlotte have to use some of the money to bail the parents out of prison. I just love the irony of that, because obviously it's like a whole role reversal, and it's just this funny little nod to what could maybe happen in the future, because it's that sense of, one day the way the parents are going, the kids may have to fend for themselves like this, or if the parents end up in prison or whatever, Jonah and Charlotte may actually become like the parents, of quote unquote. It's interesting because I wasn't really sure if they would follow up on this, like the end of the last episode, the whole road rage. Obviously, it makes sense and they would get arrested and stuff, but I just didn't know if we would start from that point in this episode. I didn't know if it would just be one of those endings and it was kind of saying, Marty getting more and more frustrated, Marty may be drawn more towards the cartel life, as I said, but we do actually start with Jonah and Charlotte bailing them out. And it's the perfect way to start anyway, because a big theme of the episode is their relationship with the parents, particularly Wendy and Jonah and Charlotte. Jonah's already pissed at her, obviously, and Charlotte, who for a long time defended her and stuck up for the mother, but her patience has really been tested. So it's a big plot in this episode, which I'll talk about in a moment, but I'll just say another, because I'm going to talk about Ruth now, but one cool thing that happens with her in this episode and Jonah is that she actually gives Jonah the ashes, like Ben's ashes, in that, ugly ass looking cookie jar, and she's like, sure, it looks like you may be going away soon, so why don't you take it with you? I know it meant a lot for you. And she it's quite the gesture. She gives him like the ashes. So what happens with Ruth in this episode is there's this whole thing of her trying to prove to this judge that she is clean, then she is like responsible, and so because it comes from her and Rachel meeting with Wilkes, and Wilkes agrees to be a partner with them to like put in his shed so that they have enough to take over the casino, but he says the problem is then her record could put pay to that, then it could become like a problem. So he puts her in contact with a judge who he knows, and he says you might need to turn over a new leaf, or at least show the judge then you can turn over a new leaf. So the judge meets with Ruth, and Ruth obviously tells her a bit about her history, and she's quite sympathetic with Ruth, and Ruth claims that she sort of tells her white lies about she hasn't really been arrested, since, like the last time, since she got caught with her family. And the judge says, well, I'm going to comb through your record, see if there was anything missed. And later on in the episode, she meets with Ruth and she's talking it through. It's a really good scene, actually, because it sums up the Ruth character really well, as in one of the things I really like about her is, as I said, she sort of tells like white lies, because she is obviously a very straight talking, honest character in general. So I really like how in this scene, because the judge mentions about how I noticed that a lot of your arrests were when you were like with the family, and she sort of puts it as, were they like an influence on you? And Ruth is honest. She says, no, I sort of dragged myself into this life, which is like an opinion, I guess, because you definitely could see it as she had a bad upbringing and there were circumstances that sort of moved her towards this way of life, which is a big part of the theme of the show, as I've said in other reviews. But yeah, she's honest about that. So what I like about the scene is sort of how she kind of mostly tells the truth with some like white lies sort of mixed in, and it's sort of a really, really good scene. And there's stuff with like her family that comes up, and there's, I think at one point, because occasionally she will sort of see and talk to Wyatt sort of thing, and he's sort of there watching. So, but it's a well played out scene where there is like actual suspense over if this judge is gonna give her like a sponge her record, and it's later on when she meets with Jonah where she actually confirms then the record has been expunged, so they can obviously go forward with the casino, and they get to like build on Darlene's land now and all this sort of stuff. So it's exciting stuff, as I said in the last episode. So just to say another thing is that Sam gets baptized in this episode, like, and it's sort of funny because it's in like the pool in like the Lazy O, and because he starts regretting his sins, and he gets baptized in the pool by the wife of, or the girlfriend of, Nathan. So there's a whole religious thing going on, and once again religion plays a big part in this show. But anyway, as I said, the big stuff with Wendy is like the dispute with Nathan, because Mel takes the evidence to Nathan about the cartel and the connection they had with Ben, and that they seemingly had something to do with his, well, disappearance or death, however you want to say it. So Nathan is like upset, but he stops short of, he kind of gives up the ghost with Ben, and he just wants to leave, but his like conditions is that he wants to take Jonah and Charlotte with him, and he expresses this to Wendy, and it's one of a couple of really dramatic scenes between them, where obviously Wendy is like, no way, I'm not letting him go, and not letting them go with that guy. And obviously a big part of her stance on this is that he, according to her anyway, abused her, beat her as like a child, and not having that around. And it's this interesting thing, because although a lot of times Wendy isn't the most sympathetic character, I think the stuff with Nathan, and certainly the picture she's painted of him from her childhood, first of all, it probably tells a lot about like maybe how Wendy has turned out at times, but it also does make you more sympathetic. And I think it certainly adds a bit of drama over. Yeah, is it really wise for Charlotte and Jonah to like move with him? But what I like about the dispute is when Jonah. I mean, obviously it's maybe a no-brainer. Then Jonah would want to go, given his hostility towards his mother. But Charlotte actually has like pretty sound reasoning, and her reasoning is then they could be like in danger there, that they could be placed in danger, which is definitely true, and that they just, I think her reasoning is it's just best for the time being. They can always move back later with the parents, but for the time being it might be a change of scenery might be a good thing, and I think she's definitely thinking of Wendy and Marty as well in that, because I think she's sort of saying that they could, because they have to constantly look out for her and Jonah, then they could be in danger as well. It could cost them. So we get this really dramatic storyline where Nathan takes Wendy to court, to try and get the kids off her, like legally. And what ends up happening is, because his star witness is Mal, because Mal obviously has this evidence about the whole FBI, FBI / cartel involvement, cartel especially. So yeah, what happens is Wendy, obviously, because Marty says, it may be just best to let them go with Nathan, because then if Mel testifies, then that's going to be the case over. And Wendy's like, yes, that is true, so I guess I'm going to have to make sure Mel doesn't make it to the court. And you're like, oh my god, because I mean, Laura Linney sells this so well, just how hurt and angry Wendy is, but also just the mental state of her. You see this look in her eyes. She's like very cold and machine-like. So you think, oh my god, what are you gonna do, Wendy? Are you actually gonna? I mean, she could just hire get the cartel guy Nelson to like rub him out. That's a possibility. But yeah, are you actually gonna go to the lengths of killing this guy so that he doesn't testify in court? And in the end, what they do is they actually pull some strings, like with this contact in the police force, and they actually pull some strings to like get him to offer Mal his job back as like a actual detective police officer. And we find out really that Mal has dreamed of this, because Mal sort of sees that as having his own life back, and he's, once again, it's a decision where it's a real dilemma. And at one point he's talking to someone close to him on the phone about it. I think it's meant to be like a priest or someone like that. Again, maybe they're a little bit too much with the religion stuff, but obviously it's a big part of the show. And there's actually quite a good scene with Maya where she talks to the birds, or talking to Maya especially, because she goes for coffee with Mal, and he's sort of quite honest about this stuff, and she says to him something like, I hope you are sort of legit, and if you're not, sadly, I can't be with you, or I can't see you anymore, and I really want to. And it's this great sort of line. And it's after them meeting, then she phones Marty, and she just sort of gives him hell, and kind of says, yeah, you couldn't leave well enough alone, could you? And yeah, actually, like, both birds are there, and with Wendy listening, Maya says, I gave you a choice, Marty. And once again, a show all about choices and about being led down the dark path. And And I mean, I think largely as an audience, I think, Maya sort of has a point. I think Marty could have been. Obviously, there's downsides to either decision, but certainly if Marty wanted to get out, like, Maya was offering him quite a legitimate way out, and he obviously didn't take it. So there you go. So there's a bit of a dilemma from Mel, but in the end he does leave town, and he doesn't show up for the court. So Nathan is like constantly calling him, and Mel just leaves, ignores his like text, ignores his calls, and ends up leaving town. And it appears as though Nathan's case is dead, but there's a plot twist, and the twist is then that the judge decides that she's going to make a decision on her own merits, like, because she has some background information, and there's claims against the Birds about the cartel, and money laundering, although they haven't been proven. And she also brings up the state of the kids, the fact that Joan has been living in a motel for months now, and both have. I mean, she also raises Charlotte's nearly 18, so she can make her own decisions pretty soon anyway. So, and she actually makes the decision based on that. Then the kids, she doesn't make the decision. What she does is a sensible move, which is turn the decision over to the kids. And that's it. That's her decision. And Wendy's just going crazy. It's just like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. So she didn't expect that. And it leads to this really dramatic scene on the courtroom steps, because Jonah and Charlotte basically inform her of like the decision. Then, yeah, the this is we're gonna leave. Sorry. And it leads to this really dramatic scene with Wendy and Nathan, where Wendy literally begs him to not take her kids away. And once again, Laura Linney steps up and strikes a home run in the scene. It's just really powerful, just like really disturbing, awkward stuff as she just begs him. And we get a little hint into like maybe the past, and maybe again Nathan being a bit self-righteous and preachy, and because he sort of, he screams at her at one point, says, "Get up, stop embarrassing us, stop making a scene," and he calls her like Wendy Marie or whatever her middle name's meant to be, which is sort of a father type thing to do. But yeah, it really gets out of hand, the scene. It's really powerhouse stuff, like great acting from both. And Wendy just goes back and gets in the car, and she hits herself. Like, I think it's only once, but it's pretty hard stuff, pretty hard shot, and she starts bleeding, and you can just tell, yeah, this is not a woman in the right frame of mind. She clearly has strong mental health problems. So a really powerful, dramatic way to end the episode, and I just love the whole drama between Wendy, between Nathan, and the dilemma, the drama of will the kids decide to go with him. And we've got 2 episodes to go, but at the moment they're saying yes, we are going to go with him. So you wonder what lengths Wendy will go to like keep her children. There is actually another sort of quite big thing with Ruth I forgot to mention, and that's because there's evidence, like Ronnie, the deputy sheriff, brings evidence to her of this guy, this drug dealer who stole Wyatt's guitar, and it appears as though like there's evidence and he's the one who actually killed him. And obviously Ruth knows this isn't true, but she doesn't know what to say. And she she actually later on goes to visit him in prison, and it's a really awkward exchange. She says, I just wanted to see you, and you can tell then she's considering telling the truth and everything, and because she obviously has a guilty conscience, and he's in prison because he's a dodgy guy, and he has a track record, but he obviously didn't kill anyone. He obviously didn't kill Wyatt. So it's this dilemma for her, and obviously part of her thinking is then this is going to put paid to the casino if she has to admit this, and yeah. So yeah, that's a whole thing which I'm sure we'll get a bit more on, but the fact that Ruth, thinks about this and goes to see the guy sort of again shows that she is quite a human character at her core. So yeah, really strong episode. As I said, 2 episodes to go to the finale, and things are really ramping up in this show. So that's Ozark, episode 12 of season 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. Keep watching TV, and I'll be back with more Ozark soon. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.